Welcome everyone to the CX Matters podcast. My name is Justin Tippett. If you're listening on podcast, welcome. If you're watching this on video, you'll be able to see not only myself, but our guest for today, Aurelius Bastian. Welcome, Aurelius.
Thanks for having me, Justin.
Pleasure to have you on the show. Now, for those of you that have not met Aurelius before, and that's why we've got him on the show, he is the customer service team leader at Seek. Now, I know this is probably a pretty obvious question, but for those, if there's someone left in Australia that doesn't understand what Seek is, could you just give us a brief overview of what Seek is?
Well, the simplest way to put it, Justin, Seek is the biggest and the best jobs board across Asia Pacific at the moment. So what we do is we advertise jobs on the Seek platform. And we've got lots of hirers who advertise their roles on Seek, and we've got candidates who apply for those roles, and Seek then matches those roles with the appropriate hirer and candidate and gives both of them the best outcome for the candidate looking for a job and the hirer looking for the best candidate.
Fantastic. As I said, I wouldn't have thought there'd be many people left in Australia that don't know what Seek is. So let's talk a little bit. I'm fascinated with your journey into contact centres, which we're going to unpack in this podcast. But I am also just interested in the Seek contact centre as a whole. So can you just give us a brief overview? Sort of how many people do you have working in the contact centre?
So currently at Seek, we have around 85 people working in the contact centre. We've got different streams or teams, as you call them. We've got teams that work with our small and medium businesses or hirers. We call them the SME teams. Yep. And we've got a separate segment for our high-end customers or managed customers, enterprise clients. And we call them the client support teams. And we offer really dedicated service to that stream of customers as well. So a total of 85 team.
85, got it. And 85. In terms of location, you guys don't want the actual address, but Melbourne based, yeah?
Yes, we are in Melbourne. We are in Richmond, very close to the station. So, yeah.
Makes life easy.
Makes life very easy.
All right. Well, let's unpack your journey a little bit because, the thing that always fascinates me with this industry is just the different walks of life we get that work in a contact centre, and you're absolutely no exception. So tell us, early careers before you got to contact centres, what did you find yourself doing?
So I started off in the hospitality industry, Justin. So, finished my year 12 in school, had a big passion for cooking and entertaining and and making customers happy. So completed a diploma in hospitality way back in India. Worked in that industry for about 10 years back in India. Then got an opportunity to come to Australia. Came to Melbourne 24 years ago. That's giving away my age right now. But came to Melbourne, continued to work in the hospitality industry for about 4 years. Yep. And then I wanted to start a family. Now, while the hospitality industry is really good, it's got a lot of customer engagement and a lot of creativity and stuff. Yeah. But the hours that I worked didn't afford me the opportunity to balance life and work. Yep. And as you can see today, one of the biggest criteria when working anywhere is work-life balance. And that kind of gave me the opportunity to look outside that circle, or that square rather, and the best place to look or leverage my skills was customer service. Yep. I did a lot of that in the hospitality industry, and when I did look for an opportunity, I did get an opportunity to work at Optus as a customer service team member. So I started as a customer service team member on the phones. Yep. And just a funny story for you, my first call that I got, I totally forgot my name. I forgot my name, and instead of saying, "Welcome to Optus, this is Aurelius," I said, "Welcome to Optus, this is Australia." And I did have a little old lady on the other end, a very nice customer who, at that time, outsourcing of customer centers was looked upon like a bad thing. So I when I said welcome to Australia, she was like, thank goodness I've come to Australia.
Oh, there you go. So you got away with it, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that was where I started off in the customer service journey. It was very different to begin with, but what I saw was parallel in both the hospitality and the customer service industry and contact center was that if you had a genuine care for servicing people and providing best outcomes for your customer, being very humble and, ensuring that you're providing the customer with an option that is right for them, then that was the role for me. So I started working really hard in that role, and because of my hard work, my commitment, and transferring of all those customer service skills, I then moved into a leadership role. Fortunately, I had a leader who mentored me for all the skills that I had. A very good opportunity came by that I got a leadership role, and I've been in that role since. So I've moved on from Optus, obviously.
Yep.
I moved into the building industry as well, in a customer service role.
Yep.
I worked for the government with Medicare,
Yep.
and then 5 years ago got this fantastic opportunity to work for Seek, and haven't looked back since.
Yep.
Continuing to lead a couple of teams now at Seek as a customer service team leader, and enjoying every moment of it.
Yep, fantastic. Well, there you go. I mean, what a fascinating story, and I guess not dissimilar for a lot of people that start in the call centre. They start on the phones. They work hard. They have a good manager that believes in them, that mentors
Absolutely.
them, and that creates some opportunities to move typically into that team leader role, and then obviously beyond, depending on what your career ambitions are. And so I want to go back a little bit to just that first experience. One, there was a great story about Welcome to Australia on the phones, because I think we forget sometimes, particularly those of us like myself and yourself who've worked in the contact centre industry for so long, how nerve-wracking it is when you take your very first call, right? Doesn't matter how much training, how much induction, whatever it is that you've done, that first call, you're I won't swear, but it's a pretty nerve-wracking experience, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, during training and stuff, it was really good. I was picking up everything that was being trained, but the first call was really live. That experience of having to speak to someone on the other end, which you can't see. I've come from a background where, in hospitality, you're speaking to the customer in front of you, and then going to a contact center where I'm speaking to someone who I can't see was a bit of a difficult transition. But I think having overcome that fear, and then I think it gave me a better opportunity to put myself in that customer's shoes, even though I'm not speaking to them in person. Puts me in perspective, and you start thinking back to, you are a customer as well sometimes, or most of the time. You do call customers yourself, and it must be the same feeling for the person you're speaking to. So I think putting all that into perspective and then providing the best customer experience and service is what I took from that initial contact.
Yeah, and you're right. There are a lot of parallels between hospitality and contact centers, but that one big distinction, as you said, is there's just that no face-to-face element, right? So you have to rely on other skills to try and make sure that you understand the customer, and that even just the different inflections in voice, etc., can mean so much more, right? Because typically, I think most communication, I'm going to quote myself and get this horribly wrong, and I'm sure someone will correct me, but I think it's like 70% of communication is done visually, and so when you take that away, it puts so much emphasis on the voice, as you said. I want to ask you about the transition into the team leader role, because you touched on that, and as I said, it is a very common journey, but it's also one that can be quite challenging for a lot of people, because one minute you're working amongst your team and you're all mates and you're off at having a drink at the pub or whatever it might be, and the next minute you're suddenly in a leadership role. How did you find that transition, and B, sort of what help did you get to prepare you for that transition?
So I think as you said, there's two aspects to it. One, the fear of thinking about what others think, that the thought of what's going to be perceived, moving from working with your colleagues to now leading them. I wouldn't say managing, but leading them. I think I had a really good leader who coached and mentored me into making that or bridging that gap really well.
Yep.
And I think for me, the two key factors are just being humble and honest with your team and your team members as you transition from being a part of them to leading them. There's nothing too much different. It's the same people,
Yep.
but I think treating everybody with transparency and respect is key. Being honest, having that open door policy, to go back and forth, and be open to listen to people's feedback as well. Feedback, very, very important in the customer service industry. So the more you listen to and the more you engage with your team members, the better it's going to be for you. So for me, having that guidance and mentorship from my leader at that time played a very key role in me making that transition. Daunting from the other end, because while you are in the team, most of the time somebody tells you what to do and you do it, and it's all easy and done, and you can tick those boxes. End of the day, you're done and dusted. But once you get into the leadership role, you then start to realize you're not only responsible for what you do, but for everything that your team does. And then that feeds into the department and the bigger picture of the business as well. So yeah, those were the two key aspects that I had to keep in mind. But as I said, fortunately, I had a good set of leaders and my immediate manager as well, who worked really very closely with me to ensure that I succeeded in that transition. From a team member to a leader.
Yeah, it's some great advice, and I think for the managers that are listening to this podcast, just again highlights how important it is, that mentorship role that you play in helping the agents move into a team leader role. And I think your other word around just be humble, I think, is also just such a critical thing, right? Because it's not hard, let's be honest. You work hard, you get a promotion. It's not hard to get a bit of a head wobble, go and look at me, I'm climbing the corporate ladder. But but I think as soon as you do that in Australia, we're pretty good at chopping you down, right? So that's some very, very good advice. The other thing, look, you mentioned you've moved to a few different organisations, and again, not uncommon in the industry. I think average turnover, average tenure, I should say, is around about 2 years. I think now thereabouts. We've got all the stats on the AXPA website. But you've worked in some quite distinct areas, right? So I mean, you've gone from sort of healthcare, the building industry, etc., and over to Medibank. Did you find any big differences, I guess, between the sectors? Obviously, the customer base is a little bit different, but in terms of a contact center perspective, what stuck out to you?
Yeah, I think starting off in the telephony industry or the telephony industry with Optus, to be specific, it was again first an initial shock moving from hospitality to telephony in a contact center. The difference that I felt there was the culture is very different. Moving from hospitality to a contact center, you've got specific things that you need to do. There's culture statements and there's visions from different companies that you need to adhere to. Moving between telephony, the building industry and the government industry, they've all got their own set of rules and regulations, and they've got their own parameters of how they want you to work. So that is something that really stands out straight away when you move, and you've got to be agile and adapt to them. Coming into Seek, it was a little different because the best way to put it is there's lots of you require a lot of agility, or I required a lot of agility when I came into Seek, because Seek works based on as you needed basis, or the best way to put it is need as required basis. So if you need to change, we do it now. We don't wait. We don't plan. We don't have rules. We make it happen. That was Seek's way of working. So, and again, the culture very, very different compared to the other structured ones. The word I was looking for was unstructured. So Seek was very unstructured, whereas the other ones were very, very structured. Each had positives and constructives in their own culture, but I think the important aspect for the individual who changes or moves between various industries is to be able to understand whether the organization's vision matches yours, and then become agile and amalgamate into it. So that's worked really well for me.
And it's a really good point for some people. Without generalising too much, if you work in the public service, for example, public sector, it can be for some people very frustrating, right? Because it is very structured. There's a process
Absolutely.
you have to go through for everything. No decisions are made
Totally.
on your own, etc. And then you get into the private sector, and somewhere like Seek, which is very agile. It's like, well, we just need to fix things, get it right for the customer. Let's go. And some people
Absolutely.
thrive in that environment, and for other
Exactly.
people would just find that really challenging. So I think it's great advice. You've got to find what works for you,
What works for
that
you.
it aligns with the
Exactly.
vision of the company. Now, a couple of things. We did feature you as our featured member on the AXA website this month,
Yes.
and there was a couple of interesting stories. I just want to. I guess dig a little bit deeper into. One has absolutely nothing to do with call centres, but it was your funny little story or fact was you did a pretty amazing flight, it's fair to say. Do you want to share with the listeners what that was?
Yeah, definitely. So I was in between two roles, moving from the building industry into Medicare, or the call center, contact center at Medicare. So between that break, I had some time, and I wanted to do something different. So my wife booked me a flight. I didn't know these flights existed. It was a Qantas flight that takes you over the North Pole, or flies over the Antarctica on New Year's Eve. And again, very skeptical about it. I was like, what are we going to do just on a flight? But when I boarded the flight, it seemed pretty normal. But as we kept going, it seemed like a normal flight, just water as out the window. And then I think 6 hours into the flight, you started seeing these big glaciers and big sheets of ice. And then it kind of sinks in. I've seen that on TV on the Discovery Channel. But having seen that really flying over in a plane, it was really overwhelming and also very exciting. And they did fly over the first person who actually conquered the Antarctica or whatever. All their huts and settlements are still over there. So the flight does a low flight over the certain areas, it does give you a good glimpse of how it would have been to do on foot, or 100 years ago. But it was absolutely amazing. And the best part was at midnight, we brought in the new year. I'm used to fireworks and darkness and people having fun and having a drink, but this was midnight on the South Pole. The sun was shining brightly, and suddenly out of nowhere, this 6-piece band starts walking through the plane, and they start playing Auld Lang Syne, and everyone pops champagne and is greeting each other Happy New Year. It was, I think, the best New Year ever that I got to celebrate with about 400 strangers, but it seemed like we were one big family that night. It was fantastic. I'd do it again, but probably this time maybe for Valentine's Day or something, because Qantas does separate events like that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really an outstanding experience.
I'm very, very jealous. It is on my bucket list of things to do the flight, and I'd love to do a cruise there one day as well. So very jealous. Awesome. All right, well, back to work stuff.
Yes.
So now you obviously, as you said, you've been at Seek now for about 5 years. You're in a team leader role. What are some of the things that you're working on currently at the moment?
So there's two things that I'm currently working on. I manage two teams. Both teams deal with a lot of complexity and technical aspects of the role, and that's all they've ever kind of known since the inception of these teams. So what I'm tasked with doing currently is trying to cross-skill the team so that can both work across each other's tasks, and also look at servicing customers directly as well. So currently we work servicing a lot of our internal stakeholders, which is a pretty good form of customer service in its own way, serving our internal stakeholders. But with making a difference of how we are different from our competitors, we want to have this technical aspect where our team members directly interact with our customers rather than having to come through several other channels. We'd be doing that directly. So that's one of the key initiatives I'm working on at the moment. And the other one is I've kind of lent into a little bit of workforce planning. When I started off with Seek, in the customer service team, we were 43 team members. We've now grown to 85. And we definitely need to be efficiently managing our resources. So that's the second initiative that I'm working in right now. I'm not a qualified workforce planner, but like with everything I've done, you've got to take a risk sometimes. So being a chef to being a customer service team leader, who would have thought? But I'm now delved into that aspect of things as well. Again, a fantastic opportunity provided to me by my manager. She knows that I'm really good with analytical stuff. So she's nurturing that aspect in me and providing me with the opportunity to do that. So I'm just taking that opportunity and running with it. But these are two big key initiatives I'm working on right now for the next 3 to 6 months at least.
Yeah, and trust me, you're not the first call center that's probably running all their rosters off Excel spreadsheets. So good luck with the journey into workforce. But it's a fascinating area, and there's people I know literally have done workforce planning their whole careers. So it's just such a niche.
Absolutely.
You don't know what you don't know, right? With workforce planning is what I've always found. So I know enough to be dangerous, but the guys that are experts that are just amazing, right? And I guess the one big difference that I've always found with the workforce planning is with contact centers. We learn a lot through osmosis, listening to others, seeing others, reading great articles on AXPA, right, etc., watching podcasts or listening like this, right?
I was going to say, I use a lot of the information on AXPA because, as I said, I'm not a qualified workforce planner, but I have used your website to get a lot of information. And even though, some of it is basic information that I need, it's clearly articulated in what I need to do, and it's really well done for you putting that together and providing people like me with that opportunity to excel in what we are achieving or aiming to achieve.
Absolute pleasure. That's literally why the site's there. That's why we exist, right? To help people on their journey, because as I said, we all come from a different spot, and and I was the same with workforce planning. Contact centers is there is some industry best practice, but there's a lot of things that are nuanced for different centres, whereas workforce planning is very black and white. There are literally formulas and mathematics that sit behind it, and it doesn't. Some people really love that. Because it is black and white.
It is.
Whereas there's a lot of grey in customer service, right? So now, of course, one of the big things of being a team leader is morale, and as you said, giving feedback to your agents. Now, we did touch on it before that you're a chef by trade, so I know one of the big things in call centers is normally, bring a dish to work kind of a day. Does that put a bit of extra pressure on you, I'm wondering?
It does. Especially working for Seek, it's a very, very big feedback culture that we encourage at Seek. I've never seen this anywhere else. So maybe in any other industry that I've worked, you do have those formal, every week I'll just catch up with you and we'd have a set of data that we'd go through and stuff. At Seek, it's feedback anytime, every time, all the time, and we do have our structured WIPs or work in progress meetings, as we call. But it is a fantastic opportunity for everyone involved in the business to keep providing feedback without having to think back or look back at that feedback as something that's negative. We've got this culture that takes that feedback, embeds it into what we do every day, and gets the best outcomes for ourselves to grow, and also leads to the business providing better outcomes for our customers. So yes, we do have a lot of initiatives like what you were talking about, bring a dish today or whatever. We have a lot of activities that we do, but we do have this open and transparent conversation with each other. As I said, feedback, very, very key. If you happen to come to Seek at any time, you would witness this from the moment you walk in to the time you leave. You'd see people, we call it huddles, wall walks, meetings. This happens very frequently at Seek. So it is something that I kind of encourage anyone in the customer service industry or the business to do. And as a team leader, yes, it is a big chunk of what I do day to day. I do have to sit down with my team members or my various other teams that I work with and provide feedback, both constructive, positive, to get the best outcome. So yes, definitely. A little different from hospitality. It's more polite and structured. Hospitality was a little different, but yeah, definitely a big part of a customer service person's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those chefs can get a little bit narky, can't they?
They definitely can. And what's his name? That British chef.
Yes, the guy who yells a lot. Gordon Ramsay. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably hasn't helped
like
the softness, has he, of people, how people see chefs, has he? But it's very entertaining to watch, right? Wouldn't want to be on the other end of it, though, that's for sure. So
no, for sure.
Terrific. Well, look, thank you so much for sharing some of your time. As I said, a great thing about our industry is, people's willingness to share, help, and give feedback on where it's necessary on what they're doing well, what hasn't worked, etc. So just to get a little glimpse into both your personal journey and some of the things that you're working on, Seekers. I hope people have found it very interesting, and I am pleased to say, this will date the podcast, but we are planning to do a tour of the Seek call centre at some point in 2024. So that will give everyone that opportunity to actually come in and see all that stuff that you mentioned. So
my pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast. And remember to make sure, if you want to watch all of these podcasts or listen to them, you can subscribe on pretty much any of the channels that we're on now. So we're on Spotify, iTunes, etc. And of course, you can watch these on our YouTube channel as well. So my name again is Justin Tippett, Aurelius Bastian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me. A pleasure to have you at Seek at any time.
I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone, and bye for now.